Hey guys, Edo100 here. Alright, and now continuing looking at the original Spider-Man trilogy. Now here I am with a review of Spider-Man 2. So what can I say about this film? This is just a really great film. I mean, yeah, this film is just like really, really great. I mean, I've always really enjoyed this movie. I mean, yeah, and a lot of other people really have too. I mean, this is just like a really good film. I mean, this is probably like the most definitive, light-hearted superhero film um, of all time. And then, yeah, this is probably like one of Marvel's best pre-MCU films. Like, this is just like a really, really great film. I mean, yeah, I mean, critics really did love this movie, and of course, like, audiences really did love it too. And yeah, this is really looked at as still like the best Spider-Man movie of all time. And yeah, who knows? Maybe when Homecoming comes out this Friday, it could change. But yeah, still, yeah, Spider-Man 2, as of now, is still looked at as the best superhero, the best Spider-Man film of all time so far. And yeah, I would probably say it is. Yeah, I mean, I just really have always loved this film, just like I did. Well, I love all three of these films, but yeah, I really do love this film probably the most out of the three. This one is probably definitely my favorite one of the trilogy. Yeah, like I said before, critics really did love this movie, and yeah, Roger Ebert, like he's at the time this film was released, like Roger Ebert actually said that he felt this was probably the best superhero movie he's ever seen, and yeah, this so yeah, at the time like this was before like a lot of other like great superhero films came out, like of course like this was before the MCU and the Dark Knight trilogy, and yeah, even like some of like the best X-Men films. But yeah, this was like still around the time where there were still films like Superman the movie, Tim Burton's Batman, and the first two X-Men films were out. And so yeah, so basically what Roger Ebert was saying, that this film was better than all of those. And I would probably agree. I think this film is better than all of those. Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man 2, just a really great film, and yeah, really enjoyable, like, all around, really. Yeah, and I really have loved this movie. And yeah, it definitely is like a really great superhero film and definitely a great Spider-Man film. I would give this film like easily 3.75 stars out of 4. Like it's just a really great film. Yeah, so you have just about everyone that was from the first Spider-Man movie returning. Yeah, there's still Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, Rosemary Harris, J.K. Simmons, and even like and yeah, there's also like Dylan Baker in this film as Dr. Connors, and you also have Alfred Molina as Dr. Octavius, and even like we still have like some small appearances from both Willem Dafoe reprising his role as Norman Osborn and also Cliff Robertson as Uncle Ben. So yeah, it's good to that they also came back for very brief roles in this film, but yeah, it was still good to see them again nonetheless. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, just yeah, it's just like they all are like really good in this movie. Yeah, Nostalgia Critic has kind of said like this film, like the acting from some of the extras in this film can get kind of hokey, and yeah, I do kind of like see it. Like the acting from a lot of the extras in this film are just kind of like hokey. Like there's like the that woman that was like screaming while Doc Ock was climbing a building, and yeah, she was just like screaming towards the camera, just kind of looking possessed. And you also have like the people on the train that are acting kind of hokey, and yeah, there's just like a lot of the other extras in this film do are acting kind of corny too. Yeah, and this film also does have like characters that are kind of pointless. Like it, of course, like has Doc Ock's wife in this film, Rosie, and yeah, it's just like when she dies, he just kind of like brushes it off and just kind of gets over it real quickly. Like it doesn't really affect him very much. And of course, we also have like Jameson's son John, who is like marrying Mary Jane, and yeah, with him, like Nostalgia Critic has said, like he's probably like the most pointless character ever, just because like nothing really happens with him. Like he barely gets any screen time in this, considering like what big impact he should really be making. And you figure like he would like really be like a real big character in this film, but he's just kind of wasted. Like we don't really see him with Mary Jane very much. We don't see him with his father at all. Yeah, so yeah, he's kind of pointless. So yeah, I guess those are like a few like things that you can complain about like with the pointless characters, but yeah, it's still like not really that big of a deal. Well, but yeah, it's this film is still really great nonetheless. Yeah, in this film you have Peter kind of going through like more problems, like because of his lifestyle as Spider-Man, it's really like messing up his personal life. Like it's affecting his friendship with Mary Jane and Harry, and he has a lot of financial problems in this film too. So yeah, in this film, like Peter does kind of like go through like more like issues in this film than he really did with the first. Like this is really where like being Spider-Man really does like sort of like take effect on his personal life. And of course, like in this film, he eventually just ends up deciding to stop being Spider-Man. And so yeah, we have the story of like Spider-Man No More, which like you see up here. Or yeah, Spider-Man No More, like right up there. So yeah, this film does have that story, and yeah, and of course, like this film, like I've said, it has Doc Ock as the villain, and yeah, I thought Doc Ock was like a pretty interesting choice for the villain in this film, rather than have like Harry discover like take over as the Green Goblin in this film. Like that wouldn't like be the case until the next movie. But yeah, glad that like they like kind of like took like a break from the Goblin in this film and had to be another villain in this film instead. So yeah, I'm glad they did that. And yeah, well, of course, like also in this film, like Aunt May's going through financial problems as well, like, and she's like getting evicted from the house and stuff. So yeah, we do have kind of like Peter and the other characters like going through like issues and stuff. So yeah, I'm glad that we do get to see them kind of like go through like more of a realistic lifestyle than like was like shown in the first movie. So I'm glad to see that. So yeah, like I said, 3.75 stars out of 4. Just a really, really great movie all around. Alright, so yeah, let me just get right into it. Alright. So the movie opens up with like it shows that Peter is now working a second job delivering pizzas, but he is always running late because he is getting sidetracked with his being Spider-Man and stuff. And then like his boss gives him one last chance before he's fired. And apparently like he there was a order for like 8 extra large pizzas like 42 blocks away that was already ordered like 20 minutes ago, and like there's like a 29-minute time limit before the pizzas will be they won't receive any money for the pizzas, and so then Peter had to like really rush to deliver the pizzas in time. And so then he just ended up like swinging through the city as Spider-Man. But then as he was on his way, like there were kids like running in the street that when there was like a truck coming towards him, and so then Peter then just like went and saved those kids and just got them out of the street, and then that ended up like making him late to deliver the pizzas, and so Peter ended up being fired from his pizza job and stuff, and then yeah, it's just showing like it's like being Spider-Man is like affecting Peter's school life, like it's making his grades really decline, and his professor Dr. Connors is just like telling him like how he's like in really bad condition and stuff because he's always late for class and always seems exhausted. And he's just telling Peter that he has to get his life back together, and he really needs to step up his schoolwork and stuff. Yeah. And it's showing also that Peter really hasn't seen Mary Jane or Harry in a while, and Harry still like is like obsessed with really finding Spider-Man and killing him. And he just told Peter that he wants Spider-Man dead the same way Peter wanted the guy who killed Uncle Ben dead. And yeah, yeah, then eventually like Peter like just discovered that Aunt May was like kind of like going through her financial problems as well, and she was ended up being evicted, facing eviction from the house and stuff. Yeah. Then later on, then Peter then like brought Peter to meet Dr. Otto Octavius. Yes, and it turned out like Harry is sponsoring like Otto's project on fusion reaction stuff, and Peter is like shown um Otto's invention, and yeah, Otto was just telling Peter that intelligence is a gift to be used for the good of mankind, and it's a privilege. Yeah. And he invited Peter to just come see his presentation of his experiment the following day. And Peter wanted to go see the play Mary Jane was in, and so as Peter was on his way to see Mary Jane's show, he ended up like getting sidetracked by a police chase. And then yeah, of course, like he went to stop at a Spider-Man, right? And then that ended up like making him late for Mary Jane's play, and it showed Bruce Campbell once again cameoing in this film as the usher, or for the theater, and then like he just told Peter he couldn't come in after the doors were closed. And so then yeah, Peter ended up missing Mary Jane's show, and Mary Jane was like upset that Peter missed her show. And then as Peter was like swinging through the city as Spider-Man, it ended up like at one point just his web wouldn't shoot out, and then Peter just ended up falling. And then, like, the next day, Peter was, like, just trying to call Mary Jane and just try to explain why he missed it, but then, like, his time just ended up running out on the payphone and stuff, yeah. Yeah. And then, like, just after, like, the call had expired and the time was done, and just, he then was just, like, talking, saying that he is Spider-Man, and just basically, like, pretending to talk to Mary Jane, saying that's why they couldn't be together and stuff. And then it cut to Dr. Octavius's his experiment presentation, and he was like preparing for it, and he was introducing the assistants, which were the robotic tentacle arms. And then, like, as he was explaining the artificial intelligence of the arms, like, one person like questioned like if he could be vulnerable to them. But he like ended up like developing an inhibitor chip that would end up like preventing the arms from like really gaining total control over him. Yeah. And then he was then presenting his machine to the people, and was then showing like a small drop of tritium, which was the fuel to work his experiment. And then the experiment like started off fine, and yeah, it was going as planned. It was just showing like the power of the sun or something, and then like it just ended up like having a spike, and then it just ended up like causing the machine to destabilize, and it just ended up like going crazy, and just it ended up like shattering glass and just sucking everything into it. And then eventually like Rosie ended up being killed by pieces of broken glass, and then Otto ended up like getting shocked, and the chip ended up being shattered. And then Spider-Man eventually arrived, and then he ended up like unplugging the machine, and that ended up shutting it down, but the machine was also ended up being destroyed. And then later on that night, as Otto was in the hospital, the doctors were trying to surgically remove the harness, but then and the arms just like had their like sentience, and then like the arms just ended up attacking the entire medical crew, killing them. And then yeah, Otto then like regained consciousness, and then he figured out that everything had gone wrong. And then he just ended up like taking refuge at a harbor, and eventually like at the Daily Bugle, Jameson and the crew tried to come up with a name for Dr. Octavius, and at one point like one of the workers, Hoffman, he actually like suggested Doctor Strange, and Jameson said it was a good idea, but that name was taken, so they decided to name him Dr. Octopus, or Doc Ock for short. Yeah. And then like once like the arms then just convinced Otto that he had to finish his experiment, he then decided they then like made him like steal money from a bank that Peter and Aunt May were also at. And then Spider-Man then arrived to stop Doc Ock from robbing the bank, but then Doc Ock eventually ended up taking Aunt May hostage, but Spider-Man eventually ended up rescuing her, but Doc Ock was able to escape with the money. And then, like, sorry. Yeah, then, like, eventually Jameson just hired Peter to be a photographer for an event for his son. And then, yeah, at that event, like, Peter was taking pictures of Jameson and his wife and with people, and then it was just showing that both Mary Jane and Harry really were, like, Peter's friendships with them were, like, kind of really, like, crumbling up. Of, like, Harry was still, like, angry at Peter for, like, basically being more loyal to Spider-Man than him, and Mary Jane was, like, really not happy with Peter for missing her show when basically everyone else she knows had come to see it. And then eventually it was then revealed that Mary Jane is becoming engaged to Jameson's son John, who's an astronaut. Yeah. And then, as Peter was like swinging through the city again as Spider-Man, then his webs just stopped shooting again, and also Peter lost his ability to climb walls. Yeah. Then eventually, then Peter was just then like having a vision of him talking with Uncle Ben about what was going on, and Uncle Ben was just trying to remind Peter with great power comes great responsibility. But then Peter just ended up telling Uncle Ben that he was Spider-Man no more. And then in reality, then it then just showed Peter then just throwing away the Spider-Man suit and walking away from it. And then it just showed then Peter just resuming with his normal life, and he then was like, basically it was just back to how Peter was before he even became Spider-Man. Peter like needed his glasses again and everything. And yeah, and it then showed like Peter was seemed to be getting his life back on track. Like he was like showing up for school on time and doing good. Yeah, and then he was like trying to like kind of reconcile with Mary Jane, trying to like change her mind once because he did go to see her show, and then he was just like trying to convince her not to get married to John and stuff, but then Mary Jane just ended up leaving, and she could see like there were some changes to Peter, but not the ones that she was really wanting to see. And then eventually, like, a garbage man brought the Spider-Man suit to Jameson at the Daily Bugle. Well, and then, yeah, Jameson then just, like, took credit for then, like, basically driving Spider-Man away. Yeah. And then it just showed, like, as there were, like, crimes being committed throughout the city, Peter was, like, just trying to resist the temptation to go to stop them and just walking away from them. Yeah. And after, like, Peter and Aunt May visited Uncle Ben's grave, Aunt May was just, like, saying that she thought it was her fault for Uncle Ben's death, but then Peter told Aunt May he was responsible for it, and then he explained to her what happened the day that Uncle Ben died. How Peter, like, let the thief who stole the money escape, and that he killed Uncle Ben. And then, yeah, Aunt May really didn't say anything afterward, and then she just walked upstairs. And then it just cut to Doc Ock then just finishing up recreating the machine, but he still needed some tritium. And so then, and yeah, Otto then just like went to Harry and just demanded some tritium, but he needed more of it. And Harry was refusing at first, but then once Doc Ock then just like was dangling Harry over a building, and then like Harry then like told Otto that if he brings Spider-Man to him alive, he would give him all the tritium he needs, and he just told Otto to make Peter tell him where Spider-Man is, but he also told Otto not to harm Peter. And then eventually, like one night, Peter sees a fire, and apparently there's a little girl inside, and Peter just went inside to rescue the girl. And then eventually one day he goes back to visit Aunt May, and then Aunt May was just like telling Peter that she's proud of him for telling her the truth, and yeah, she basically ended up forgiving him. And then, yeah, apparently, like, now Aunt May was, like, moving out of her house, and one of the neighbor kids across the street was helping her move, and she was just telling Peter that the neighbor, Henry, like, he just misses Spider-Man and needs him to come back. Aunt May was just telling Peter that sometimes people need to be smart and give up the things they want most in life, even their dreams. Yeah. And then eventually one day, like, Peter then just like went out to like a coffee bar or something with Mary Jane, and they were just talking. Yeah, and they were both like just trying to tell each other something stuff like Mary Jane was just like telling Peter that she was like seeing some changes in him, but yeah, Peter was also saying that he just isn't right for Mary Jane or stuff. And when Mary Jane asked Peter if she loved her, Peter just said that he didn't. But Mary Jane just asked Peter to kiss her, and because she needed to know something. But then, and Doc Ock then just ended up like just busting in and through the into the bar, and then yeah, he then just like grabbed Peter and just told him to find Spider-Man and tell Spider-Man to meet him at the West Side Tower. And then he also like took Mary Jane and with him also. And then after like Peter got thrown into a wall and he was just buried under some debris, Peter then just broke out, and then his powers ended up being restored, and then he with the glasses his vision was blurry again, and without them he was just fine until then. Yeah, his powers were then restored to Spider-Man. And then just as like Jameson was then just starting to realize Spider-Man really was a hero, and then it then showed like Peter then stole the Spider-Man costume back, and then that's when like Jameson just went back to feeling the way he did about Spider-Man before. Yeah. And then yeah, Spider-Man then met with Doc Ock, and then the two of them fought, and then they eventually like ended up fighting onto a transit train, and eventually like Doc Ock ended up like sabotaging the controls and just like making the train go full speed and breaking the accelerator off. So, and then, yeah, the train was just like approaching the end of the track, and then Peter was just doing a bunch of stuff that he tried to stop it with, and then he eventually ended up stopping it by just shooting out a bunch of webs and just holding onto them to make the train slow down. And it eventually came to a stop just as it was approaching the end of the track. And Peter just eventually ended up like passing out, but the passengers on the train like just brought him into the train, and yeah, they were just telling him once Peter woke back up that they're glad to have him back. But then Doc Ock eventually broke back into the train, and then he knocked Spider-Man out, and then he brought him back to Harry, and then Harry gave Otto the tritium. Yeah, and then like Peter was like, well, no, Harry was about to kill Spider-Man, but then he wanted to see who was behind the mask so he could look into Spider-Man's eyes as he died. But then he then discovered that Peter was Spider-Man, and then yeah, Harry was shocked to see that Peter was Spider-Man. And then yeah, Peter then just was telling Harry that Otto had and Mary Jane, but Harry was still shocked to see that Peter was Spider-Man and that he was the one who Harry thought killed his father. But then, yeah, Peter just ended up convincing Harry to just direct him to Otto. And then it showed like Mary Jane was still being held by Otto, and then he was starting up the machine again. And then, yeah, Spider-Man then appeared, and then, yeah, him and Doc Ock were fighting off some more, and then, yeah, the machine just ended up doing the same thing it did before, but it was sucking even more, and yeah, the power was even bigger since it was more tritium. Then eventually, Doc Ock tried to stab Peter, but Peter pulled in like a big electrical cable, and yeah, then Doc Ock just ended up like being electrocuted by that, and then Peter tried to unplug the machine again, but it didn't work, the machine was still running. And then eventually Peter then revealed himself to Otto, and then yeah, eventually he just convinced Otto that he has to give up his dream, and he reminded him of what he told Peter before about intelligence, that it's a privilege. Yeah. And then Otto just then told Peter the only way to really stop the machine is to drown it, and then Otto decided to drown himself, and Mary Jane also discovered Peter was Spider-Man. And then, yeah, Otto then just ended up drowning the machine, and he ended up drowning along with it, and yeah, Peter ended up saving Mary Jane, they swung away. And then, yeah, then that's when Mary Jane really discovered why they really couldn't be together. And then Peter just lowered Mary Jane back down to the ground, and she was reunited with John. And then it just showed back at Harry's home. He then, saw a vision of his father in the mirror, and yeah, Norman was just telling Harry to avenge him since he swore to it, but yeah, Harry refused to do anything to Peter, and then Harry ended up shattering the mirror. But then it showed like there was like a secret room behind the mirror, and then Harry walked into it, and then it then just showed like there was all the Green Goblin equipment in there, and then yeah, Harry then discovered his father was the Green Goblin, and then yeah, this would then like carry over to the next film. I kind of wish they would have used this as a post-credit scene. I think it would have worked better that way, but yeah, whatever. And then on Mary Jane and John's wedding day, it then showed then like Mary Jane just ended up like leaving John at the altar, abandoning him, and she ran back to Peter and was just telling Peter that she can't live without him, and yeah, she's willing to take all the risks that she may be in, and with them together. And then Peter then just thanked Mary Jane, and yeah, they ended up kissing, and then yeah, then heard the sirens, and Mary Jane just told Peter, "Go get him, Tiger." And then it just ended with Peter swinging through the city as Spider-Man once again. And yeah, that's how the film ended. So yeah, 3.75 stars out of 4. Like I said, just a really, really great film. Yeah, and I'd say, yeah, this is probably the only real challenge Spider-Man Homecoming has to top as the best Spider-Man film. And yeah, who knows, it could top it. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see this Friday when it comes up. But yeah, nonetheless, Spider-Man 2 still is a really, really great film. Yeah, definitely watch this film if you haven't seen it before, because it's definitely worth it. Alright, so yeah, that does it for my review of Spider-Man 2, so I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.